In a world where...
Is this thing on?
Barely.
This episode of the Just John podcast is brought to you by the random fact that fashion designer Ralph Lauren's original name is Ralph Lifshitz. He changed his name because, in his own words, it has the word shit in it. And two of the most amazing patrons on the planet. Find out how you can become a patron of the show by heading over to justjohnpodcast.com/support. What up, homies? I'm your host, John Medina, and this, my fine ladies and gentlemen, is the Just John podcast, episode 30 for the week of March 19th. 30 episodes. Holy hell. 6 months ago, I never would have thought I'd make it to episode 30, and I couldn't have done that without all of you. I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you that come back and listen and hang out with me every week. Today on the show, a different kind of Assassin's Creed pre-order, cooking on Twitch, Indiana Jones 5, and more.
At midnight Saturday, the telephones in this city will be changed to dial service, and all telephone numbers will be changed.
Before we get started with the show, I just want to establish the fact that daylight saving time sucks ass. Okay, it is horrible. We should all get rid of it and live our lives like Arizona, where the time is always the same time. Well, not the same time, but we don't lose and gain and all this crap, because it absolutely sucks. When I was a kid, it didn't really matter because it was on a Saturday night into a Sunday, and you're a kid. You don't really focus on time. You don't have things to do. You just don't care because you're a kid and you're just playing outside, playing with friends, playing video games, whatever you're doing. But when you're an adult and you have things to do, it really just drags on you. I mean, I'm still kind of recovering at the time of this recording from daylight savings time. So I just wanted to establish that it sucks. If you agree it sucks, you let me know, because I'm going to, after this episode drops, I'm going to throw up a poll on Twitter to see who likes it and who dislikes it. So be sure to head on over to my Twitter at JohnnyM_Revo and vote in that poll, share it, like it, retweet it, reply to it, whatever you want to do, but definitely go take a part of that poll.
Hello, I'm Bill Nye. You may know me from such things as science.
Could you imagine buying $1,200 movie tickets? I couldn't. A long time ago, video game publishers started doing something called a pre-order. Basically, they said, if you want to get our game on the day it comes out and you don't want to have to worry about the store being out of stock or whatever, you can give us your money now and we will reserve a game for you when it comes out. Now, this kind of changed a little bit when the direct download stuff started happening, but the pre-ordering concept itself did not go away. They still did it. Over the past few years, movies have started doing it. They've said, okay, you want to go see this movie opening night. You want to make sure you have a ticket. You don't want to have to worry about getting to the theater 17 hours early and camping out in front of the theater to get your tickets. So you give us your money now, and we'll guarantee you a ticket for opening night. Okay, that's cool. But earlier this week, Ubisoft, the company that does Assassin's Creed, decided that they were going to start testing the method on movie tickets. And these packages are freaking ridiculous. If you want to shell out $1,200 for your Assassin's Creed movie pre-order tickets, you can. And you will also get a replica crossbow. Could you imagine? $1,200. You could go buy an 80-inch TV with $1,200. Okay, maybe not an 80-inch TV, but a nice 55-inch TV you could go buy with $1,200. If you don't want to spend $1,200 though, never fear. For $500, you can do it, and you can get a hand-painted statuette. If you don't want to do that, you can do the $15 package, which includes an LED watch and temporary tattoos. The $15 package, okay, cool, whatever. That's not a big deal. Most movie tickets are right around $15 anyway in the big cities. Here in the smaller towns, you're looking at about $10, but $5 extra. You get a watch and some tattoos. Okay, cool, whatever. Oh. And each package includes a digital copy of the script. So you get a script of the movie. Kind of spoilery, don't you think? Oh yeah, let's read this script before we watch this movie. Now keep in mind that this movie does not come out until December. 9 whole months before this movie will be here. Basically what they're doing is they're saying, give us all your money before you have a chance to find out that the movie sucks. It's so far away that we've heard so little about it that you can only assume that the movie's gonna suck. And most of us would like to assume that the movie's not gonna suck. But let's be honest, video game movies have not been doing well in the past. I mean, to be honest, most of the video game movies that have came out were hot garbage. I think World of Warcraft will change that and usher in a new era, and I can only hope that Assassin's Creed is going to be able to match, or, even if it's not quite as good, still be a lot better than the previous video game movies, but we can't guarantee that, and that's not something I'm willing to bet $1,200 on.
The local news of the week.
Cooking on Twitch in real life. Not just the Diner Dash game or some other kind of mobile game or whatever you're going to play on your computer cooking, but actual cooking. Now that Twitch has taken over the world of live stream video games, which companies like YouTube are really struggling to fight with the live streaming, because if you go to the live streaming section on YouTube, it's a big pile of horse dew, man. It is no bueno, not good at all compared to Twitch. So Twitch has conquered that, and they're trying to figure out another thing to add to their business model. They're trying to expand and in turn earn more money and garner more attention. So earlier this week, they announced that they were going to create a new channel that was dedicated to cooking. To celebrate the channel, they streamed a 4-day marathon of Julia Child's The French Chef, which was kind of a reflection of the marathon that they did of Bob Ross sometime last year, which was kind of like, oh, hey, this is our creative hub, and look how creative this guy was back in the day, and so we want you to be this creative now. Twitch is innovating. They're not creating cooking shows, and they're not hiring people to come in and do cooking shows, but they're creating another outlet for people that might not necessarily want to play video games, and for people that might not necessarily want to watch video games being played. Think about all of the cord cutters out there. I'm one of them. There's a ton of others. You might in fact be a cord cutter. And the thing about it is, when I had cable, I'd watch the Food Channel all the time. I'd watch all those stupid cooking shows because sometimes it was fun to watch. Ever since I've gotten rid of cable, I have not really watched any cooking shows. Well, now I can go to Twitch and watch these cooking shows without having to worry about a cable subscription. So really, it's an ingenious idea, and I think it's going to be very, very interesting to watch. Not the channel necessarily itself, but what it creates. What channels are we going to see next? We're going to see home living channels pop up on streaming services. I wouldn't be surprised if YouTube answered with its own cooking show, cooking channel, and maybe some kind of home gardening or home repair or something like that, because streaming services have mastered the television content part, or the regular syndicated television content part, and the movie part. Between Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Hulu, you've got everything you could ever want, mostly. Give or take a few, but you can supplement that with renting an HBO Go or HBO Now and things like that. But the trouble they've had is bringing in cooking shows and the HGTV, DIY style stuff, and I think that this channel that Twitch has created is going to open the floodgates for things like that.
Hey, can I have a McRib meal? Large size with the Dr. Pepper.
Speaking of streaming services, ComicCon is going to launch a streaming service effective May 7th. So the company behind San Diego Comic-Con, they're doing the same thing that Twitch is doing. Really, they're trying to expand their business and generate revenue from other streams. And what they're basically trying to do is create the Netflix for nerds. And it's probably going to be effective, because just thinking about it, I get kind of excited inside. Basically, they're teaming up with Lionsgate to launch a streaming service that's going to have classic sci-fi and fantasy titles, live streams of San Diego Comic-Con panels, and original programming that's going to be both scripted and unscripted series. Well, not unscripted series, but like unscripted news shows, like SportsCenter, but for the nerds. Earlier this week, they announced the first substantial details of the streaming service. So it's going to be called ComicCon HQ, and it's going to be in a soft launch period starting May 7th, which ironically is Free Comic Book Day. The service is going to be free at first, but it'll require a paid subscription later on, and they have not said anything about prices. If I had to take an educated guess, I would say it's going to be between the $4.99 and $9.99 price range. They may not make it as quite as expensive as a basic Netflix subscription because they understand that they have to compete with Netflix. But even if they do, I don't think they'll make it over $9.99 because then they're going to be looking at HBO Now territory, and I'm just not sure that they're established enough to be able to hit a price point like that. The cost part, it will be free until June. After June, you're going to have to start paying for it. Now, there's no description on whether you're going to get a bonus of unpaid time if you sign up in May, like, okay, you baited this for us and you went through all this, so we'll go ahead and let you have a free subscription until July or August or whatever. We're not sure how that's going to work out. Chances are you're just going to have to start paying in June no matter what. But the big question is, what are these shows going to look like? And the answer to that is, well, at least what we know right now is that former G4 stars will be heading up some of their programming. Adam Sessler of the gaming show X-Play will host an interview series and executive produce other shows on gaming, comics, and science. Attack of the Show's Kevin Pereira will executive produce something akin to the late night talk show, as well as entertainment news shows, and ComicCon HQ intends to make these into daily or weekly programs. So basically, you're going to have shows that are on once a week. You're going to have like the late night show with blah, 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 insert your name here, the Late Night Geek Show with John Medina, where we talk about all the geeky stuff you could imagine. And that's what it's going to be, and I think that's freaking fantastic. There's not a lot of specifics right now that have been announced, but we do have a few series that are for sure. A show called Impossible Science, which will explore how new technologies can reproduce effects performed during a magic show. A show called Her Universe, which is basically Project Runway for Geek Couture, and a scripted comedy called Kings of Con, which is probably going to be another take on Con Man. Either way, I think that these shows will be enjoyable. But the biggest question is the streaming of San Diego Comic-Con. So I live in BFE Nowhere, Missouri, and getting to Comic-Con is nearly impossible for me financially or time or anything like that right now. And it's something that I've always wanted to go to and experience, and I've seen, you know, little videos here and little videos there, and I always read about it and follow it on social media and things like that, but I've never had the experience of looking at it with everybody else. And while I still won't be in the room with everyone and won't be in the atmosphere, seeing it at the same time as them would bring some of that magic home. And supposedly with this service, I would be able to do that. But how restricted is it going to be? I mean, are we going to get to sit in Hall H? Oh, I can't even, that would be absolutely fantastic and would cause a lot of people, I think, to subscribe right off the get-go just because of that one feature right there. This is something we're probably going to follow quite a bit on the show, and so as we get closer to the release date, I will keep you updated on all the news that is Comic-Con HQ.
You know, when I see a car like this, first thing I do is I say, would you look at this?
Indiana Jones and the sequel that bought Star Wars. Earlier this week, Disney announced that Indiana Jones will return to the big screen on July 19th, 2019, which will make Harrison Ford pretty much 1,000 years old. I mean, just ridiculously old. Steven Spielberg is going to direct it, Harrison Ford is reprising his role, and Kathleen Kennedy and Frank Marshall are going to produce. Not too long after Disney bought Lucasfilm, there were a lot of speculations on Episode 7, of course. Like, who wouldn't speculate on Star Wars? And one of the big early speculations was, are they going to bring the OG3 back? Are they going to bring Luke, Leia, and Han back? Obviously, we know now that they did, but at the time it was a huge question. Well, as news slowly started to trickle in, we found out that they were going to have Leia, they were going to have Luke, and there was a lot of rumor that they weren't going to have Harrison Ford, that they weren't going to have Han Solo in the film. And so people started to question and wonder and things like that. And a few months later, I read an article that said that Harrison Ford said he would only come back for episode 7 if they'd give him another Indiana Jones film. So Harrison Ford ended up coming back. This rumor was never confirmed or anything like that, but Harrison Ford ended up coming back, and lo and behold, 3 months after the movie came out, we learn that Indiana Jones 5 is coming out. So I think that article that I read hit the nail on the head. They said, okay, Harrison Ford, we will give you a 5th Indiana Jones movie if you come to episode 7, but you cannot say anything until after Star Wars comes out. Star Wars came out, they released it, now Harrison Ford can talk about it. I don't think that they'll ever admit that that's why he got the extra film. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see, and let's just hope beyond hope that it does not suck as much as Kingdom of the Crystal Skull did, because that movie was a big poop pellet. Big old pile of steaming poop.
I guess you could say things are getting pretty serious.
Alright, we have reached the halfway point of the show, and as is usual, I am going to bring y'all some awesome tunes. The song that I am playing today is called Break the Chains, and it is by the band Sun Boulevard.
If I knew the time away I don't know if I still believe.
Again, that song was called Break the Chains, and it was by the band Sun Boulevard. As usual, if you like them and you want to check out more of their stuff, you can find out their information in the show notes below.
Because drugs are bad, okay?
Instagram is going the way of Facebook and Twitter. Instagram is testing a more personalized feed for its users. The reorganized feed relies on an algorithm to sort images and videos based on what users are likely to be most interested in. While I'm not surprised because Instagram is owned by Facebook and that's how Facebook has been for quite a while now, it's beginning to be one of those situations where all of these social media sites are trying to guess what you like and put only that in front of you. It's kind of obnoxious. It's almost losing your free will for what Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter want to put in front of your face versus what you want to put in front of your own face. Now, I know I've ranted on this for episodes and episodes before, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about what I feel about it because most of you already know, and if you don't, go back a few episodes and listen to my rant about Twitter, and it's pretty much the same for Instagram. Granted, I don't use Instagram that much, so I'm not going to feel the effects of this like I feel the effects of Twitter, but it's still just obnoxious, and it's going to ruin part of my Instagram experience if I ever do start heavily using Instagram. So more about the story, though. Chief Executive Kevin Systrom... Kevin Systrom, we're going with that, y'all. He was quoted as saying, "What this is about is making sure that the 30% you see is the best 30% possible." The company is supposedly using machine learning technology as well as other signals of interest to determine how to sort your content. The feed experiment reflects the social media platform's increasing popularity and the resulting surge in content. For now, only an unspecified single-digit percentage of users will test the algorithm, most likely going to be people that are very popular on Instagram or heavy hitters on Instagram, so that if they choose to make the full change, they can use these people to rally the troops behind it versus everybody dogging on it and saying that it's a big pile of crap. The biggest difference between the Instagram and Twitter change is that Twitter did save a little bit of face by saying that you can opt out of the mixed up feed, that you can still do it in reverse chronological order. You just need to go to your settings and change your settings a little bit. Instagram, not the case. They're going to make this happen if they decide to go with it. And as I said before, the fact that Facebook is their parent company, I would see no reason why they're going to change their mind and not go with this type of feed. I have a feeling that a lot of it's going to do with advertisements too. It's going to help them data mine a little better by seeing what you're interested in instead of just letting you do whatever you want. And then they can target ads from different companies towards you and make more revenue. So we'll see what happens and we'll see if they stick with it, but I have a feeling that they will.
The Force will be with you, always.
Celebgate. So everybody remembers this from last year, right? Celebgate. No, you don't know what I'm talking about? Oh yeah, no, me neither. It's not called Celebgate, it's called the Fappening. Every single article that I read or scrolled by or anything that was describing this situation when it happened was calling it the Fappening. No one called it Celebgate until now, a year and a half later, when they decide that the Fappening may not have been the best name to use in all of their articles. Either way, some developments in this story, which is kind of interesting. Ryan Collins, a 36-year-old Pennsylvania man, has been accused of playing a key role in the Celebgate breach of 2014. He's going to plead guilty to the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, which will mark the first conviction related to the high-profile hack. It's taken them this long to even track anybody down, or actually convict anybody of any kind of crime. Apparently, he spent 2 years tricking people online, working in Hollywood, trying to get sensitive data, addresses, passwords, and he did this by pretending to work for Apple and Google. Once inside the accounts, he was able to access full iCloud backups, yada, 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 and he got all these nude photos and put them on the internet. Well, maybe he didn't put them on the internet. He's credited, and I say credited lightly, but he's credited with breaking into as many as 50 iCloud accounts and 72 Gmail accounts. He was charged with 1 count of felony computer hacking and 1 count of unauthorized access to a protected computer. The charges both carry a maximum sentence of 5 years, but prosecutors are recommending that he only get 18 months after reaching the plea deal. The biggest thing about this is, though, that he is not being charged with leaking the pictures online, which makes me wonder if someone else did that. I'm thinking maybe he got all of this stuff and he was just like, you know, they're gonna stay in his little black book. Okay, he's got a bunch of nudie photos of Jennifer Lawrence and all these other ladies, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm the shit, man. I got all these pictures and they don't know. Nobody knows. And, you know, now I see him on TV and I'm like, oh yeah, I know what she looks like naked. And he shared it with a buddy or somebody online because he was trying to toot his own horn or make him look like he was awesome or whatever. And this person got a hold of them and then they blasted him on the internet. I have a feeling that they're going to get in a lot more trouble than he did. While he committed the crime of lying and cheating and stealing, he didn't commit the crime of distribution, and that's the actual biggest part of this crime. I mean, don't get me wrong. As someone that stole those photos and lied and got all those passwords, that's wrong. But if he wasn't going to put them online, it's not as big of a deal as the person that put them online, because it caused a lot of issues and pain and suffering for all these different people. But my whole issue with this story, once again, I'm going to go back to this. I know. I already said this once, but I just want to say it one more time. This is called the fappening, not Celebgate. Seriously, guys, go ask somebody what Celebgate is, and they're gonna be like, duh, I don't know. What is that? I've never heard of that. Go up to them and say, hey, did you remember the fappening? They're gonna be like, oh yeah, that's when all those nudie pictures leaked online, right? Yeah, because that's what it's called.
Because I'm gonna put my nutsack on your drum set!
We could be making history here, folks. The end of the console war is upon us. Maybe. There's not a big difference between your Xbox One and your PS4, except for Xbox One has more little kids on it. PS4 has more adults, it seems like, to me at least. And, you know, that's really the biggest thing. There's a few select games that are Xbox only or PlayStation only and different things like that. But one of the most inconvenient things was if you had an Xbox, you could play with people on a PC or an Xbox. And if you had a PlayStation, you could play with people on a PlayStation and certain people that had PCs. And personally, I had a lot of experience with this. Back before I've always had Sony, I've always had a PlayStation. Back when I moved out of my parents' house, I still had my PlayStation, but all of my friends had Xbox. And they were all like, man, buy an Xbox, play with us. Well, I really didn't want to buy one. I didn't want to spend the money. Well, my buddy ended up getting a second Xbox, and so he gave me his old one, and he was like, man, I'll give you this game, all you gotta do is pay for the live. And so I did it, and we all played Xbox, and it was fun, and we played for months and months and months, started clanning up and going and doing great. And so I decided, okay, if I'm gonna spend this much time on it, and it's a lot of fun, I'll go ahead and break down and buy an Xbox. So I bought an Xbox 360. Xbox One wasn't out yet, and about 6 or 7 months later, my buddy was like, hey, dude, so we're all thinking about switching over to PlayStation and playing that instead of playing Xbox. And I was like, well, that's fine, whatever. I already have a PlayStation. No big deal. Well, he convinced, he didn't make, all of our other friends to go trade in their Xboxes and go buy PlayStation 3s and all these new games and all this stuff so we could start playing online on PlayStation. Fast forward another 3 months. Everybody decided that they didn't really like PlayStation 3 as much, and so they wanted to go back to Xbox. And this happened one other time, and then when the Xbox One and the PS4 came out, I got the PS4. They all got the PS4, decided they wanted to switch to Xbox One. They all switched to Xbox One. I stayed with the PS4, didn't do anything. I'm just like, this is freaking ridiculous, man. What is going on? And Microsoft has came up with a solution. Microsoft just announced that game developers can now create cross-platform multiplayer modes that will work with other consoles and operating systems, so your Call of Duty, your FIFA, and your whatever you want can now be played cross-platform. I can have it on PlayStation, you can have it on Xbox, and we can still play together. The first game that's going to support this cross-platform multiplayer is Rocket League, and I think this is a great idea, and I really think that it's going to make a lot of people's lives a lot easier. Sony did comment, and they basically were encouraging but indecisive at the same time. They said that PlayStation has been supporting cross-platform play between PC on several software titles. They'd be happy to have the conversation with any publishers or developers who are interested in cross-platform play. Now, that doesn't necessarily say that they're going to allow it, and the biggest thing for Sony is they are the market leader, Xbox is not, and this could harm their position. Microsoft doesn't have much left to lose because they're just getting hammered into the ground by Sony sales. But Sony has something to lose, so they're a lot more hesitant, and rightfully so. But it sounds like a freaking fantastic idea, and I really hope it works out.
I fart in your general direction. Your mother was a hamster, and your father smelt of elderberries.
We're getting pretty close to the end of the show, so as usual, I'm going to close out with an app review. The app that I'm going to review this week is called Survive Wilderness Survival. Survive-Wilderness Survival. This game is pretty downright awesome. It's available on Android. I'm not so sure about iOS. I didn't look it up. I'm sorry. Check out and see if it's available. The developer of the game is JUSOHIETALAHTI, and there is no way that I'm going to pronounce that right, so I'm not even going to try. It's a really fun game, and you start out and it says your car is stuck in the mud. What do? Press the pedal or get out and investigate. So for example, you say get out and investigate, and then it says your car's stuck, you blah blah blah, you're stranded in the wilderness, what do you want to do? And you have a few supplies with you, a little bit of food, a little bit of water, and your safety is so many miles away, and it tells you up in the left hand corner how far safety is away. So you start to walk a little bit, and you get to a forest, and then you can make a camp and make a fire, and you have stamina, you have hydration, you have energy, and you have body warmth, and you have to build a fire to make sure you stay warm. You have to collect rainwater or find a stream to make sure that you stay hydrated, and you have to sleep or get rest so that you can have energy, and then you have to find food, and you have to build your shelter, and it takes a certain amount of time, and then after you've built up enough supplies, you can move on to the next area, which could be a forest, could be a hill, whatever, it just depends. And if, like, say you run out of water, you die of dehydration, your character dies, and you have to start over. It's really, really fun, really, really addicting, and really, really difficult. I've played it kind of a lot, not a whole lot, but a decent amount, and man, it's hard, but it's so fun. It almost gives you a chance to feel like Survivor Man or Bear Grylls out there roughing it, but it's a ton of fun, so go check it out. Again, the game is called Survive-Wilderness Survival, and the developer is JUSOHIETALAHTI. So go check it out. It's a lot of fun.
Don't tase me, bro! Don't tase me!
If you enjoyed the show, please show me some love by liking, thumbs up, subscribing, sharing, rating, reviewing, retweeting, or whatever it is that's used to symbolize love of the show on the platform you're using to view it. You can follow me on Twitter at JohnnyM_Revo or at Facebook.com/JustJohnPodcast. You can find the show at JustJohnPodcast.com, and you can listen at SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Spreaker, or some other shit. You can email me at justjohnpodcast@gmail.com, and remember, without you, I'm just some dude talking to himself on the internet. Until next time, peace out, fam.